Riftbound's launch is right around the corner. Riot, in their recent Worlds update, has told us that more boxes and supply is on the way. But is it enough? And is there a bigger problem lurking for Riftbound's launch? Let's dive into it. Riot recently kicked off their Worlds bundle by letting us know that more supply is on the way. It's currently in print and it will arrive at your local LGS by launch day. They will also be reopening orders on their website on October 16th at 9 a.m. PST. Add it to your calendar. Gotta remind you. However, note that that supply of boxes that you can order off their website won't be available till December or early January, it sounds like, as far as shipping and that print run is going to go. I think it might be a separate print run. Now, this is good news because Riftbound does have a huge supply problem. And the more I see the have and have nots comment on this, I think it's worth having a conversation about it. First and foremost, a lot of new card games are conservative with their print runs. It's the smart business thing to do. Basically, you don't know what the demand is going to be. Now, everyone can look in 2020 hindsight and say, hey, you know, League of Legends is a huge IP. Knowing Riot, especially with games like this, that they're going to put out, especially something that's not gaming for them, they're going to be more conservative. You can see this in the way that they're doing events. They're going to have to get scrappy. They're going to have to be a little bit lean. They're going to be conservative in that print run because they know how much it's going to blow up. I think their main market was China, and they're working with a different distributor in China than they are for America. They're using UVS, which makes a difference in the quality of the cards, how many print runs you can do, that kind of stuff. Because UVS has their own games, other products that they're doing as well. Again, China, they've had no supply issues. Cards are readily available. Prices seem pretty reasonable, what you would expect for that kind of stuff. In America, using UVS. Now, UVS is kind of known for having some print supply and demand issues. They also had a rebrand with their mismanaging their initial fighting card game, now rebranded as Universes, where you can fight it out with all your favorite different anime and IPs all kind of into one. Weirdly enough, it feels very much like Universes Beyond for Magic the Gathering. But in this case, from a printing standpoint, it's good news that Riot has already said, hey, we got another print run underway. We have more. They've also were smart to give out products like Proving Grounds, where you can get 4 decks and a good base set of cards. They have the starter decks, which you can easily get still if you wanted to go up and order those as well. But when it comes to boxes and all this talk about, hey, more supplies on the way, what does that actually mean in practice? I think the problem is if you have a choked supply of product going out there, the problems they're going to run into is it's going to discourage people from jumping into the game, because if it's hard to get into events, you have so much demand, but you don't have enough supply that you, like, if you're going to run a limited event and you don't have enough boxes or packs to open up more spots, then you can't expand to meet that demand of people playing. So you're missing out on people being able to get product. You're missing out on people being able to participate in events, which is going to discourage people from jumping in initially, especially. I've already seen that sentiment in a lot of the communities that I'm in and online. The other problem is it puts stores in an interesting spot, because beyond the scalper world that we live in now in modern times, the stores are in a tough spot because they have to decide between, do I sell product or do I keep it so I can run launch events, so I can run limited events, like I need packs to run those events and supply to do that. And so stores that normally would do packs for prizing, that kind of stuff, if the supply is so limited, it's hard to decide to do anything besides, you know, hey, I need this to run my tournaments, to run my release events. I actually can't sell boxes because the supply is so limited. And so what is the real world impact? What is the word on the ground currently? Because Riot said, hey, we're going to give you supply to hopefully relieve a lot of those issues. But basically what I've been hearing on the ground is that, like, the new supply run, I don't know if word is hit not, but from the initial word that I've heard is that most stores aren't getting that many more boxes. It's looking like 5 or 6 boxes, which makes sense because if you have to spread them out across all the game stores and all the kind of just that are getting distributed, even if you do another print run, there's only so much that can be left based on your initial run and what UVS can supply and work into their schedule with everything else they're doing. So from the local stores that I have talked to, a lot of them have told me everything from there's going to be no supply, we can't give out full boxes, we're going to have to give out packs. It's going to be very limited. Some stores told me straight up that like they're not going to sell any boxes or product. They're keeping them all for events and that kind of stuff. I've seen posts online of people that were ahead of the game. They were put in pre-orders. Now the pre-orders are starting to get canceled. And it sucks from a standpoint of people that are like the diehard people that went out and they're like, I want to buy cases. I want to try to pre-order as much as I can. I went to multiple different sources just to cover my bases. And in the end, they're getting like one box, you know, for all of that trouble. And that kind of gets a little bit scary when we think about the regional that's going to happen at the beginning of December, because if launch day hits, supply is really tight. It's hard for you to get boxes or product. A box basically gives you like 6 epics. So if you have an epic heavy deck or you're hunting for epics for your deck to bring to a regional, to bring to a competitive event, it's going to be pretty tricky. You're going to have to go to singles. Supply is choked. Singles prices are going to go up. So it's going to be very expensive. I think that if you're pot committed, you're probably saying, screw it. You're just going to have to deal with that. But again, it's tough when you have a brand new game that people want to take a chance on. They want to get in early, to have the fun of that exploration. Yes, I know stuff is already going on China meta, but it's all once people get their hands on, once we actually see in-person tournaments, that's also going to change how people play and their experience and that kind of stuff. There's a lot more pressure playing in person than playing online, what have you. It'll be interesting to see how that meta evolves, but getting someone to buy into that when like prices are high, they can't really get into events, they can't really get product. It's just going to leave a lot of people out in the cold that may move on to something else that comes up, or may go back into another game, or may just not enter Riftbound, which does suck. However, what I will say though is that ultimately, if your demand is this high, it's hard for me to be doomer, because the reality is the demand is high. You have a good product. What we have seen, Riot has been responsive. They're doing more print runs. They're making their best effort. And what it really looks like is for Riftbound is 2025 is going to be rough for English players. It's just the way it's going to be. Supply is going to be low, print runs are going to be low, cards are going to be expensive. But I think by 2026, once they've printed more of Origins, more people have got their hands, there's more supply, singles prices will come down, Spirit Forge is going to launch in February, and we get to hear more of their plans for future sets and everything in that kind of rollout. I think that Riftbound is going to be in a really, really good place, especially also that we see so many tournaments, 10Ks, 20Ks, whatever, cash prize tournaments, the first regional being here in Houston, Texas. I think that the view for Riftbound is going to be bright, because the game is already fun. The game is fun to play from what I've played, what people have played. People are so into and excited for it because they have gotten a good impression from the game so far. And I can only imagine how fun the game is going to be as it progresses with new sets and new mechanics, and so new legends, so on and so forth. So for me, yes, it could be doomer. Yes, there is going to be an initial problem, initial pain. But with all that said, let me know down in the comments, have you been able to secure product, get your pre-orders? Are you going to be jumping in early, diving in, just going with the flow? Or are you going to wait till 2026 to get into Riftbound? And as always, remember, you're going to be amazing today because you are amazing. And I'll catch you next episode.